Welcome to the Legacy Through Land podcast, where we're dedicated to empowering you on your journey to land ownership and management. I'm Tyler Markham, your host, and each week we'll dive deep into the world of land investing, management strategies, and the transformative experiences tied to owning your very own piece of dream dirt. With our expert guests, inspiring stories, and actionable advice, we're committed to helping you become a better land manager, hone your investing skills, and start building your family's legacy through land. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. We hope you'll enjoy.
All right. We meet again. Thanks for coming back to listen to another episode of the Legacy Through the Land podcast. I am going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in our world this week. It's honestly an incredible exercise to update you guys throughout my journey in my own land company. But right now it is incredibly rainy. It is the 20th of May as of this recording, and it has been a high of 52 degrees today. We've gotten probably 6 inches of rain here in central Ohio in the last 5 days. And I have been battling the weather, trying to get spring crops into the ground, spring food plots. And I've actually got the least amount of spring crops I'm planting in the last 5 or 10 years that I can think of. All I did this year was a 6-acre field that I have experimentally planted real world wildlife annual screen at a lighter rate. And I'm trying to plant this in a field that I'm hoping to create a secret, secluded bedding area for a very specific buck that I am praying, crossing my fingers, and hoping I can give him reason to live on this farm more than he did last fall. So trying this as an experiment. Obviously I want something that's going to grow 6 to 8 foot in year one. So I didn't have time to do the switchgrass and miscanthus play that I would normally do. So we're going to see. And if this works well and the deer love this as a bedding field, we're obviously going to convert it long term. But it was a field that a farmer just couldn't get to in his farm that he typically planted. So it had just sat dormant and it kind of turned into a CRP field. And I'm going to convert that into this bedding field. So that's all I did this spring, but it was just really hard to get all that in with all the rain. I'm not planting corn for the first time in a long time, not planting any corn. It's just been a weird year on how things have laid out. And I did not plant any soybeans this spring. So wild again. I've got a farm in Illinois now that we have almost 100 acres of soybeans on it, but we've got a lease with the farmer. So I didn't actually have to plant all that myself. So anyways, just kind of the dog days in the spring here, just trying to get stuff done. It's chaos. The grass grows 6 inches every day, it looks like, and we've had tons and tons of rain. So other than working deals, just trying to get spring stuff off the ground. And I am excitedly headed out for a RV trip and some time on the road with my girls and my wife. And we're going to experience, hopefully, what it's like to be a RV traveling family for the month of June. We may hate it and this may last a week, but if we love it, it's going to be a 4-week journey that I'm really, really excited to go out on. So let's jump right into this week's guest. This guy is somebody that I met through a rather funny, interesting season in my life that was very pivotal, a very pivotal growth season in my life. But I met him just in a funny way. So I already throw myself under the bus when we start the episode, so I'm not going to dive into it anymore here. But my guest is Mr. Neil DePugh. Neil is arguably got one of the coolest stories in the outdoor industry that I've heard in the last while, because he has risen from, and talks about on this podcast, his journey from barely starting as a part-time employee at Cabela's at $8.50 an hour to rising through the ranks, remaining steadfast, remaining disciplined, being incredibly loyal and hardworking to Cabela's, that he's the general manager of a store today. And he talks about all the stops and all the things that went on in his journey to becoming a 29-year-old at the time, general manager, first general manager, I believe, in Cabela's history to be a general manager of a store at under 30 years old. So that is just obviously an incredibly rewarding experience to talk and hear from. And I know you're going to love that. And then on the back end of the podcast, we talked about the family farm that he just closed on. And I was able to help connect him with the right lenders and just the right people And Neil gives me way more credit than he should because he really worked hard at getting this thing done and stayed steadfast yet again. Common denominator there to get this thing done and buy his family farm back. So let's jump right into the episode. Welcome, Mr. Neil DePugh. All right. To quote the great Matthew McConaughey, welcome back to another episode here. Thanks for sticking with me. If you've been sticking with me, I'm not organized enough to know what episode this is, but it's an episode. So we're going to jump right into things. You already know my guest by now, and I'm excited for us to be able to talk shop, but I have to admit, and I want to make sure he squirms while I'm talking through this. I had hoped he had forgotten this, but Neil and I actually met through a rather interesting time in my life because I unashamedly, if that's the right way to say it, I unashamedly am a self-proclaimed Amway guru, and I used to be in Amway for a hot minute. And if you don't know about Amway, it is the GOAT of MLM sales and has a bunch of American-made products. A lot of their stuff's actually really good. But I was in Amway for a hot minute and was growing a business team and literally got to the point where I could literally talk to anyone as a complete stranger at a gas station or in a Cabela's or in a TJ Maxx or in a restaurant. It didn't even matter. If I looked at someone who like happened to have a pulse and seemed like somebody I'd want to talk to, I would. And oddly enough, this crazy guy named Neil, who's like larger than life and has a great personality, and like obviously I didn't know from Adam, gets contacted by your boy Tyler, and we get together. I kind of show him the business plan for Amway. And Neil, this has been like many moons ago, so I don't even remember. I don't think it ever went anywhere. Is that correct?
No, I don't think so. I think I left you on red, maybe. No, I'm just joking.
No, it was a swing and a miss. You know, I was always popping in his DMs, but
yeah,
no. So it was funny. Like we connected through that. And by the way, if you're listening to this, I could contact you. I'm not too rusty to contact you at a gas station. So just watch out. I could still do it. Actually, let's just, for a fun thing here, let's just throw in like, here's how it would go. I would say, gosh, you look familiar. I feel like I know you from something. And then they're going to be like, yeah, I don't know. Like, so what do you do for work? And then he tells me, or they tell me, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, a couple of my business guys do some of that stuff as well. Or, hey, I know a guy who does that. And then boom, like we're off to the races. Hey man, it's wild. But you ever keep your eyes open for any other kind of business opportunities, like outside of what you do professionally? And yeah, I haven't said those words in 10 years now, but that is how me and Neil would have gotten connected. So
yeah.
Watch out if you don't want to be contacted.
I was the fish, you were the hook, man. I was coming in hot.
And guys, if you're watching this and not just listening, if you're watching the YouTube version here, Neil is being nice, but he's like 8'17". So think about like if I'm setting the hook, this is like for real well hunting, and he's not big, like, he's not fat. He is just a big guy. Let's just cover this before I mess it up anymore, Neil. How tall or short are you?
I'm 6'7".
Only 6'7". So
only 6'7".
We'll go into his basketball career. It was in Europe. It didn't last that long, but he couldn't make a layup. But anyway, no, dude, this is I just had to like completely throw myself under the bus right out of the gate because honestly, if I was Neil, I probably would never talk to me again. But I think what saved our potential relationship that has grown to my thankfulness, it has grown past the weird first encounter, was we were both outdoorsmen. We both shared a ton of the same values. We both just kind of, we knew we were cut from the same cloth, or however you say that. So early, even in like, hey, I'm probably not interested in this weird business vibe that you got that happens to like look like a pyramid scheme, but it maybe isn't one. Jury's still out on that. It led to like, we actually did stay connected. We stayed in touch, and it's easy to stay in touch with a guy who is the head honcho at Cabela's if you're an outdoorsman. So whether he liked it or not, I was able to stay connected with him. So I'm going to shut up now, Neil. Thank you for being with us today.
Hey man, thank you. Appreciate it. That was a good intro there for sure.
There's just an immediate icebreaker here, throwing
like
myself under the bus.
I like that.
So, if people don't know you, like the goal for today and the goal for every podcast I do, and I know Neil's going to be a great contribution to what we hope to deliver to the guests, is we want to empower people. We want to empower people on their journey to land ownership and land management and being a better steward of land. I want to build people's belief in the idea that you can buy land. You can do it. Like I like, and I benefit from helping people make that happen. And, the last thing for me is as a guy that does buy and sell land every day for a living, if you're in that, hey, I've bought and sold a few pieces of dirt, or I'm getting into this entrepreneur thing, but I'm really not sure what to take the next steps. That to me is also what I hope to belief build and empower people to hone their investing skills. So I already know enough about Neil's recent story that we're going to get into, and his recent shenanigans. And then I know a little bit about his long-term shenanigans. So we're going to cover all that stuff here if we can. So let's dive right into this, my man. We were talking about this offline, and Neil's a hard guy to keep geographically tracked down. So where is home for you right now?
Residing here in Beckley, West Virginia right now. Beautiful, beautiful Beckley.
Wild and wonderful. If you guys haven't already picked up on, my friends are still mostly all Dub V people. So you're not originally from West Virginia though, correct?
No, I'm keep your ears. I am a Buckeye. So, for the Dub V's, listen, I'm born and raised Buckeye. Now I like my WVU too. So we're not going to hate on that or anything, but originally from Chillicothe, Ohio.
Let's go.
Ross County. That's right.
Okay. Now, anytime I hear this, and maybe I've already said this and listeners are going to be like, dude, don't do this stupid joke again. But anytime I hear Chillicothe, I got to ask Neil, did you know that Chillicothe was the first capital of Ohio?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now here's the kicker. I'm glad you knew that. It's on the water tower or wherever else. And that's their big claim to fame. Did you know it was also the third capital of Ohio?
Nah.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Google it. What was the second? See, we're catching him up here.
Yeah, you're catching me up. I mean, I wish I could brush up on my Ohio history.
It's not going to be what you would think.
No.
Give me just a wild guess. And it's not Columbus.
Lima, Ohio.
Lima. No. And listen to me acting like I'm some Ohio guru here. I'm 2 years in, man. You will not believe this. I didn't either. Learned this on a field trip with my kids. So, useless information for you here. But Zanesville was the second capital for a hot minute. And then Chillicothe took it back and was the third capital. And then Columbus after that. So, yeah. Yep.
That's wild, man. I think Zanesville was probably trying to give a shout back out, getting that Wilds Museum in there, with all those. So, hey, we want this capital back, man,
Yeah. So Chillicothe, man, I didn't know what part of Ross County was home for you, but yeah. So currently Beckley, West Virginia. What do you do for work? Let's just dive into this. We're going to act like everyone, let's stay at the 10,000 foot view. What do you do right now?
I'm the store manager for now Bass Pro Shops, but Bass Pro Shops Cabela's in Charleston, West Virginia.
So, all right, we're already going to jump everywhere. It is going to be without question. Neil's going to be able to provide a lot of insider track here. We're going to see what we can catch him up on the unknown world there that he might tell us about. You say it's now Bass Pro, and I knew there was a merger. Mm-hmm. So is it Bass Pro and Cabela's, or is it just all Bass Pro now?
So it's Bass Pro. I mean, that's the main company. But there's separate shops within Bass Pro Shops. We got White River Marine Group. We have Cabela's, multi brands around that. Big Cedar Lodge too. Okay. So all that kind of meshes in. Tracker. But essentially it is Bass Pro Shops. They bought out Cabela's in 2018. So now they're starting to do like rebrands in a lot of the stores. Our store is getting a rebrand here at the end of July. So the front of the building will say Bass Pro Shops, and that's hidden information. Probably not a lot of people know that's coming, but fine to share.
You heard it first here. You heard it first
here. Jump on the podcast. So it is. It'll say Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World, and off to the side we'll still have Cabela's as a staple brand, and then some of the other shops as well. Now we're still not have a boat center. That may be coming in the future. They try to get the ATVs out to us, but we're working towards that. So pretty cool, man. It is a fantastic company to work for. Saying that from my heart. It's been a great ride, and the transition is super smooth. So,
man, so I got questions here. Let's like I'm only smart enough to be stupid here. I'm thinking I know of like, GSM is a really big, brand that owns a lot of brands within the outdoor space. And, they carry a large umbrella in my brain.
Absolutely.
Is Bass Pro up above someone like a GSM even? And then now Cabela's would be in the middle there somewhere, or how would you like rank that, I guess?
Well, no, I mean, so our brands are private label brands. I mean, obviously we have manufacturers make those. So, GSM probably most likely makes a lot of our Cabela's and Bass Pro products.
Okay.
So there's some of those areas. So like, Cabela's and Bass Pro is still equal. It's still a staple brand, and we carry a ton of great items, but along the way, we may have, as a company, switched manufacturers and that kind of thing. And that's where you see, like, obviously we always try to improve in quality. So you may see a swap of a brand and maybe notice something different about the product.
Okay.
But it is led to believe that, like our fishing equipment is made by like a lot of the reels and rods could be like Daiwa. But we also have some like entry level reels that look like to be made by Fluger. And so like our outfitters, which is what we consider our employees, our outfitters, they know it best. I got a fantastic group of outfitters in our store, and some veterans, and it's the veterans, and they have like extensive training with the product, but the vendors also come in and visit. Not trying to get too far in depth with that.
No, I love this. That's awesome. I mean, that's cool that you call them that, but it is applicable. I mean, it really is. Yeah. And you don't even know this, Neil, probably, but a friend of mine is Jared Booth that has worked for you, and has worked for you. But I mean, he's always had nothing but great things to say. We always talked about you, and he did say things like, "Well, Neil drives a hard ship, but I love working for him." But that's just what you want to hear when you're actually towing the line and you have mutually gained respect from people, I mean, that's truly what you want to hear. If they just said, well, Neil's the easiest guy to work forever because he doesn't make us do anything. Well, like that doesn't serve anybody either. So man. All right. So this is already, hey, spoiler alert, everybody, stick with us. Neil knows stuff about stuff. So let's back up here. Let's back up. West Virginia, West by God, Virginia is your current home in Beckley, and you're commuting. If people don't know geographically, if you're listening to this, that's how long of a commute to the Charleston store?
65 miles one way, baby.
So that's a lot. That's a lot. And you used to live in Charleston when you first were the manager there.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Used to live in Charleston.
So let's back way up. You came from Ohio. Why? How'd you get to West Virginia? And how did eventually you land where you're at in Cabela's? And I would really enjoy hearing the story of kind of how you worked through the paces, man. I just find this incredibly interesting. So
could get broad here now.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like you said your college when we were offline, right? I think you said your college. I didn't even go to college. So, setting everybody at ease. I wasn't smart enough to go to college.
No.
So now we have a college graduate on here. I want everybody to sit back. Neil, how did start back from, college? Where'd you go?
Yep. So, Chillicothe, Ohio, obviously started there and went to small high school there, Huntington High School in Chillicothe, which when you say you're kind of close, within an hour and 30 minutes from Huntington, West Virginia. So
Yep.
when you said Huntington, automatically people focus on Huntington, West Virginia. I'm like, no, well, small, very small Huntington in Chillicothe, Ohio. Tiny little map dot. But anyways, small school, was always fascinated with sports. Obviously, being the size I am, I just had no choice but to play. Came from a family that played sports, and when people ask me, did I play sports, I automatically just tell them, no, I was a professional checkers player.
Well, all right. I'm asking now too, what sport was your favorite? I mean, what's your favorite? And maybe what was your most, everyone wanted to utilize you in a different sport.
Honestly, man, my favorite was basketball. I'm going to tell you why though. It's because you get the fame when you play basketball. You're being a big guy. You're the center. You got, all the fans are closer by, that kind of thing. And you got in the paper a little bit more because, being a big guy, I was obviously an offense and defensive lineman. So, unless you had a good game on defense, you never heard anything about offense. And we were, we were all right. We were, we were a 500 team, went 5-5, broke even most of the years I played. But basketball, we were solid. Played a lot of great games, had a great team, won the conference. So that was awesome. But I would say that's why I like basketball the most because, you got the fame back then. So it was a lot of fun.
So let's just ask right now. I mean, if we walk into Huntington High School, small town Huntington High School, does Neil DePugh have any jerseys retired or his name up there anywhere?
No, there might be something out there, who knows,
he's being humble. What's out there? Let's go. I want to know what's out there. You got some records on the wall?
Man, no, honestly, no, I don't. I was, I would say I was decent at basketball, but, we had another guy who was a great friend. His name was Jeremiah Oates. But he was a power forward. I was the center, and he was the scorer, man. He put up. I was able to pull the big guy off. He would get locked down with another guy, probably another power forward, and he was six. Jeremiah's 6'5", and I'm 6'7", and Jeremiah was dumping 30 points a game, which was leaving me. I think my average was around 16. So I was throwing 16. I was throwing a lot of, I was a rebounder, defensive player, that kind of thing. But anyways, in saying that, I never got to 1,000 points.
Well, hold up. This makes me think of some people. I mean, you don't have as colorful of a hair, but Michael Jordan wasn't Michael Jordan without Dennis Rodman.
That's right.
So,
that's right. Yeah.
You say his name, Jeremiah Oates, right?
Yeah.
He was Jeremiah. I hope you listen to this, but you weren't Jeremiah Oates without that Neil DePugh down there keeping you honest. I mean, for real, dude. Some of the best players were the best assisters. So I'm guessing that was where you came in as well. 16 points. That's no slouch, dude. I couldn't hardly even make a layup. Like I knew pretty quick I wasn't going to be great at basketball.
Yeah, we had a solid team, man. It was good. It was a lot of fun. A lot of great memories there. But
and then college, you took that to college or what? I mean, because I pegged you for a basketball guy because of your size, but I think you mentioned some baseball in here.
Yeah, I remember. Nah, not baseball, man. I was not a great baseball player. I did track through discus and shot put, and again, was average at that at best. I was too focused on basketball and football. But football was a lot of fun. The camaraderie, I always say, like the camaraderie of football cannot be beaten. I mean, the brotherhood, and you have that many guys and that kind of thing. So in all honesty, like football is very special to me because of that. And it's still fun. I mean, just had a ball out there. I remember a newspaper article said Neil DePugh took his hardwood exploits to the football field, because everybody knew, basketball. I thought, basketball was my game, but no, I mean, I love football. It's just that we didn't have the best record. We were 500 at best, like I said. So anyways, that pushed me to maybe my brother, an older brother, much older brother, and he kind of inspired me because he was able to. He played for Miami, Ohio.
Okay, go Red Hawks. Let's go.
Yeah,
Hold up. Let me trivia that. That is AJ Hawk. No, Ryan Hawk. AJ. One of the Hawks, and then
one of the
is
Hawks.
that Roethlisberger?
Yeah, Roethlisberger. Yep.
Yeah. Good Red Hawks. Some Maction, folks.
Yeah.
Maction.
Mac ball, man.
Yeah, and,
baby. He actually played with John Harbaugh. And he was John Harbaugh.
Cheated in? Or wait, what? What were you going to say?
No, yeah. Man, it's great. Actually, John Harbaugh, interesting story with that is John Harbaugh came to our farm and stayed the night at our house. My dad had remembered that, and my brother actually, when they were going to the Super Bowl, this was, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, if I remember right, but he was able to call and talk to him before the game. But anyways, John had spent time on our farm. My brother was a big explorer. He was never like a big outdoorsman hunter, but he liked to explore. And I guess they went out exploring in the woods. So his footsteps are on my property, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, so brother, much older. He's in his early 60s now.
Okay.
But he inspired me. He had a gym and at his home, and I went over there, and he would even pad up with me. So, I had the full experience, and he pushed me really hard, and I was able to get some looks. I was committed to go to High University as a preferred walk-on, and I'll be honest with you, slacked off a little bit in high school, didn't have the best grades, and so went through the ACTs, didn't do the best.
Hold up. Let's pause. I remember my score. My mom's way less proud of this than I am. What was your ACT score?
You don't want to hear it.
I do, dude. Oh, well, we're going to throw my sister under the bus if you.
All right. So yeah. I heard if you put your name on it, you get a 12.
Oh, I heard it was a 14. Okay.
It might be, but listen, I didn't get a 12. I got a 16.
Hey, I swear, I'm pretty sure on my life, I swear that my sister got a 16 as well. I'm pretty sure.
Dude, it's rough. I'm not gonna lie. I never did the SAT, but the ACT, you had to get a 19 to be considered cleared for the NCAA one, which
really?
Think about some guys out there. You know, I mean, that's hard to believe. I think it's like if you're gonna be a walk-on, maybe from a small school, you got to get a 19. But I've seen some things, especially going to college.
So let me catch up here, though. You played football in high school and got some looks from the football aspect in sports.
Yeah, you
got a look as a walk-on for Ohio University Bobcats, right? And you're saying that education-wise, it was blurry there. You had a 2.6.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty close.
What'd you have?
Out of high school, it was 2.75.
Hey, bro, that's Ohio State starting, wide receiver right now. So you're fine.
That's right.
Yeah. And they're getting the same GPA that they get. They're getting in millions for their NIL. So, 2.6, they're getting 2.6. It's fine. Anyway.
That's right.
So you got some looks from Ohio University. Keep going. What happened there?
So, it was actually, if I can, the coach, his name was Frank Solich. Coach Solich, I remember. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, bro. Long-time coach.
Yeah, Solich was there. And I can't remember the strength and conditioning coach. He must have also been part of the recruiting. I was on their program. Solich was contacting me or whatever, and went to a game, visited, all that. And Solich got terminated that year. So anyways.
So, this makes sense because he had 2 stints there.
Yeah.
See, I'm a college football guy. Like didn't play,
Yeah.
but I just kind of know it. And my wife, backing up a second, my wife went to Marshall. So Huntington,
Yeah.
my wife went to Marshall. Marshall was in the MAC forever. So
Yep.
Ohio was
Absolutely.
foes. Miami was probably an even bigger rival to Marshall. They were in the MAC forever. So I know a lot about the MAC and especially Huntington. So yeah, I remember. But am I right? Solich had 2 stints at Ohio.
I can't recall exactly, but
what would this time frame have been that you're talking about?
This would have been 2006, 2007.
Okay,
that year.
I'm
I was
sure
going
he
to,
had 2 stints. I could Google it. I'm not.
He might
let's yell
have.
at my editors that we don't. Hey, somebody Google this. No, nobody's.
Nobody's real.
I think he had 2 stints, but carry on. So he got let go, and I'm guessing that kind of messed up your thing.
Yeah, things kind of slipped away a little bit. Plus, I mean, the thing is, like, I wanted the opportunity to, again, small school. I know I didn't have the dynamic that a D1 high school or D2 high school or something would have. I mean, we were Division 4 when I was in high school in football, and I think now they're up to Division 6 because there's 7 divisions now. I think back when I was playing, there were 5. But anyways, so it just kind of lost contact a little bit. And I had a good friend, Clay Beeler. See, he was 07. I graduated 06. And Clay played for Huntington, but then he transferred to Chillicothe his senior year. And Clay was an animal on the field. And he knew that he also wanted to play college ball, and he wanted to get looks. So he went to Chillicothe High School, which is Division 2, and he had a record year. I mean, just was a diesel out there. Did fantastic. They had a great record, and he was getting a lot of great looks. But small school, Wheeling, West Virginia, not real small, but Division 2, West Liberty University, recruited Clay, and got him set up, and while he was there talking to the coach, and they were extremely fond of Clay. So they mentioned, man, we're still looking for some linemen. So you know any linemen? And he's like, I absolutely do. He was like, he said, reach out to Neil, gave him my contact, said pretty much told him what I was doing. And they reached out, and fortunately I didn't even have to, I sent them some films and stuff. I pretty much was doing my own thing because I was going to the branch college, High University Chillicothe, during that time, working on getting them grades up,
And, dude, this is such a small world because my sister-in-law, I'm 99.9% sure she went to West Liberty as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's the mascot of West Liberty?
It's a hilltopper.
That's what I was getting ready to say, man. I'm thinking it was blue and gold as their colors as well.
Yeah, blue and gold. Gold, black and gold.
Black and gold. Okay,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on. So D2 West Lib.
Yep.
And they reach out to you, it sounds like.
Yep. Coach got a hold of me, and some of the coaches still talk to this day. But anyways, we're over to give me some scholarship money. Went out there, just went straight in as a true freshman. Got some playing time as a freshman, and then sophomore year did good. Had some starts and some games, and then came out my junior year and had a little bit of a holdback, a little bit of setback. I wouldn't really call it an injury, but essentially had a little condition that held me back. And so they allowed me to keep my scholarship and do coaching. So I was helping to coach offensive, defensive line throughout my junior year and my senior year. But when one opportunity goes down, leads to another opportunity that helps you in life, I guess, that happens from time to time. But that opportunity then allowed me to seek a job and a career that I needed. And I found out that there was a Cabela's in Wheeling, West Virginia that we went to and visited a couple of times. And I remember telling my dad, I said, they came to visit, and I said, this is where I want to work. Like, this is what I want to do. And and we're committers, man. Come from a family of committers. My dad retired at the paper mill, worked there. I think he put in 40 some years. Raised cattle on the side at the farm, and I helped raise cattle growing up and stuff like that. But it was just farming and work, man. That's what we did. And so, anyways, there was Cabela's. Went in for I showed up in a polo and walked in there and had a resume and dropped it off and got hired part time in the fishing department. So,
wow. And what this would have been?
This was 09.
09. Okay. Or
Yep.
10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. So, this is crazy, Neil. Am I right that I heard, maybe you don't even know this yet, but I had heard the paper mill in Chillicothe just went under.
Yeah. So I got a couple of buddies that work there. One, very well, Justin Skeens. He's one of the maintenance managers or whatever out there. I don't know exactly what he does, something with maintenance. But anyways, I kind of was trying to give him, some optimism. Was like, man, look, there's no way. Like it's going to get bought.
Yeah.
And
well,
so,
and I know this third hand just because I have a logging buddy that had said, hey, this is a huge hit in southeastern Ohio for the timber industry. Yeah. Like he said, huge. People don't really know that the ripple effect that's going to cause in the timber industry. And we're talking about the same mill, right? I mean, what's it called?
It's called, I think it's a Glatfelder now.
Okay.
Maybe I'm Pixel. No, Pixel. It's changed names a couple times. I mean, it was always the Mead. That's the longest standing name for years, but it's been bought and exchanged hands a couple times. But for the way I understand it, in a nutshell, is that, and I'm not going to say my buddy talked to me about any of this, but there's I guess they own a few different mills or sites, maybe do different things. But obviously tough economy, right? And I know they've shut down a lot of their machines. And I think like one of their mainstream mill is in like Pittsburgh. And I guess that, it's kind of like a business decision as to like, hey, we need to make our books look better. We're not going to impress buyers looking like this. So I think it was like, let's shut this one down. Let's combine the entity into one, and let's shine it up, polish it up, so we can be out there for a good price on sale. So I think their end game is complete sellout, but from what I understand. But anyways,
Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to sidebar. You just said it made me think of that, the mill that is such a staple there in Chillicothe.
Yeah, dude, it is. There's shirts. I mean, there's cups. I mean, like I got a family that owns a business that sells T-shirts in there with Paper Mill City. It's called City. I mean, it is a staple.
Yep.
Very big staple.
So tough. I mean, obviously Neil and I, we don't have firsthand information, but it was crazy when I heard that, Neil. I heard it from a timber guy, and then not a week later, a land agent friend of mine was like, hey, this isn't public, but like there's a mill going under that's not good. It's not good. Yeah. It's going to hurt. And I was like, I think I know what you're talking about. And I'm not into that. Like I'm not in that circuit. I'm not really in that circuit, but obviously you got to know enough to be dangerous about what's going on around you. Yeah. And it's just crazy. Sorry, I sidebarred you, but saying your dad retired from there, it makes me think of obviously the staple that mill was. And, your dad's, would have been, I'm going to guess, I don't know how long this mill's been around, but more than 100 years, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah. I don't know the exact, but yeah, I would say, I mean, my grandfather worked there, it's one of them. Like I remember being in the vehicle driving somewhere. I was probably 4 or 5. And my mom's like, what do you want to do to grow up? And you're just a kid, man. The mill. I want to work at the mill. Like it's like branded in you. I'm sure like, we're in West Virginia. It's like steel mill. Like I'm going to the steel mill. Like there's no questions asked. West Virginia, then we're going to a coal mine, but as those things get shut down and people move on and that kind of thing, changes things up. So
let's kick up the paces here. I know you've been through a lot at Cabela's, and it fast tracks us today. You're the store manager in Charleston. I know if you care, if we could, Neil, bounce around with us. Because I know you've had several, I think several moves that have been part of your journey. So we started in Charleston, low on the totem. We started in Wheeling. You just said we started in Wheeling at the Cabela's, kind of low on the totem pole, part-time fishing, right? Fishing.
Yeah.
How long does that last and where do you go next?
So, was able to work part-time fishing for it's about a year and a half or so. And then I switched over to the archery department and worked there for a little while. And then, I had some good mentors through that time. And Wheeling was a staple store. They actually got one store of the year 2 consecutive times while I was there. I mean, I was very fortunate to be in an environment that it was like a winning store. And the company, we did a lot of things well. But I was hungry, man. Like I'm a big guy. I'm always hungry, but I mean, I was hungry in a different context, and and the hunger was like, obviously I came from an environment and a family that, raised very well, but at the end of the day, like, it was like, you had to fend for yourself, you had to get out, you made your own money. No, it was no easy living, nothing was bought for you, that kind of thing. And I think that fueled the hunger. And and it was tough time because you're in college and you don't have the opportunity to work full time. But I was paying rent with a part-time pay, and I remember it was like $8.50 an hour or whatever. And, but there was a little, quid pro quo, I guess you could say, but, our club credit cards, I don't want people to know this is like, oh man, no wonder I get asked about that. They're crazy. Well, you know what? It's $1 per app. That's what we get, $1. Now, 2009, dollar was, I was a gimme.
Bro, that 2009, $1. I mean, that could get you a couple tacos.
Dude, 2 Sheets hot dogs. And I load them boys up now.
Hey, and we need to claim, people are listening to this outside of the world of Sheets. Sheets is not a gas station, folks.
Yeah.
It's a convenience store. Okay.
100%. And if they're listening, they have no clue about Sheets. I will tell you right now. And
I mean, Sheets.
Later in life, I learned about all these West Virginia hot dogs and all these special things.
Yeah, baby.
Man, you should have had a Neil DePugh Sheets hot dog back in the day, because
not even legal.
The sauerkraut was free, the mustard was free, the ketchup was free, the pickles were free. You bet your tail, every single one of those condiments went on that hot dog. And you can call it a Neil dog, whatever you want to call it. But to me, it was the difference between, like, okay, I'm going to eat good, and I'm going to hold something down.
Oh,
but anyways, man.
Goodness.
Buddy, hot dog, like, it's the worst.
This is a great baseline for those that have just started working and think that there was never a history of under $15 an hour. You were at $8.50 an hour. And back then that was probably pretty good. Like, that was respectable.
It was. But those credit card, get a credit card app, getting people to sign up for that. You got the dollar. So it's funny. I go back into orientations right now that we have. Every week or so, we're bringing in folks, and my HR, she just leads it off like that. It's like, hey, tell them about your story or whatever. But one thing I mentioned is that hardship of just like, look, $1 to me meant that I could go get 2 Sheets hot dogs. And I remember people saying, like, they were like, do you remember those days? Like, my buddies would be like, remember those days we used to have to eat ramen noodles? And I'm like, dude, you could afford ramen noodles? Like, man, you were next level. I couldn't afford ramen noodles. No, but so those were hard times, man. And I was able to keep that hunger moving. And I thought that I was going to graduate college, which I studied business administration. I did computer information systems, business information systems, and minored in management. And, but in college, they teach you like CEO management, like way beyond like top level management. And you have to do case studies and all that, but we won't get into that. But anyways, I always kind of kept Cabela's in my mind, like try to apply that whenever we were doing anything with business. Okay, how does this work? How does that work? So anyways, I didn't want anything to do with computer information systems. Those were on like Microsoft applications. It wasn't like IT,
Right.
but you learned a lot about, how to do Excel. And I never knew how much that helped me later in life. Like I can do a spreadsheet, like pretty decent, so anyways, I'll ramble on, man. You got the guy if you want to ramble on.
This is so good. Cause you're talking about, this is 09, starting early, part-time. What was the next, how long did that last and what was your next bracket?
Yeah.
And lace in the moves. Cause I know a lot of this, dude, like people probably just might think, oh, well, he just stayed in West Virginia. No, I'm pretty sure that you went outside of West Virginia. Am I right?
Yeah. I'll quickly finish that story. I thought I was going to go to the oil and gas fields. Honestly, it was great. It was like $60K right out of college. I had a guy lined up with the water fracking, and I was going to move out to Western PA, whatever. But I was willing to move. I mean, I'd already made that big move from home, and I will tell you, that is the toughest one. I cried. I remember calling my mama crying. I was like, I didn't like this, but anyways. So I'd already got that out of the way. I'm like, listen, I'm willing to move wherever. But I had a great mentor. It was the general manager in Wheeling, West Virginia. His name was Joe Neary. Still a great guy. I talked to him a lot, but he was the GM, and he knew like what I was bringing as far as getting the club cards. And he asked me one day, like, man, you're part-time and you're getting more credit card applications than anybody, like a lot of guys in the store. I told him about the sheet hot dogs, but anyways, he was just like, I understand. Well, he pulled me up in his office and he sat up, and I remember he said, come into my office. He sat down, he kicked his feet up on the chair, and he looked at his watch, and he was like, it's about 1:30. He was like, Neil, I'm going to get out of here in a minute. I'm going to go eat a really nice dinner. He's like, I'm going to go chill at home on my pool. He's like, I might take a ride around in my Jeep, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, listen, he was like, I got a great crew. I built a great store. He was like, you ever interested in making this your career? And I'm like your seat? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of steps to get there. And he told me, he goes, listen, Neil, he's like, if you stay single and you're willing to move, and that was a key. He's like, stay single, you're willing to move wherever they want you to, and you got that type of hunger. He was like, you'll be a GM by the time you're 30. And I'm like, no freaking way, And so I came in, took the time, think about it. I came back in, was like, hey, I want to do it. He was like, you want to do it? I'm like, I want to do it. He goes, okay. So he said, the cool part is the regional offices were in the Wheeling store. So he said, let me take you down to meet Mike Baldrick. He was the regional director. I went down and got to talk with him, and he got me on a plan. He got me what was called IDPs, individual development plan, that kind of thing. And so I started working on that, and they were building Charleston, West Virginia store, and I heard about it. And so I said, what the heck? And he said, you going to apply? I said, yeah, I'll apply. And a lot of people think this, man, right out of college, like, hey, I'm above, like, I can go right into management. Like you already think, So I applied for the management job.
Degree.
Yeah. It even says like college degree or 5 years equivalent retail experience or whatever management.
And you were like, so, I got both.
Yeah. I'm like, solid, right? So I apply, and they came in and was like, so we weren't able to give you the management job, but we're going to offer you a team lead job for $11 an hour. And I'm like, I'll take it. Like he's like,
go.
You don't want to think about it or anything? I'm like, no, I'll take it.
And this is to Charleston, West
Virginia, right? Okay. So anyways, I remember
maybe you're bad with times too, Neil. I don't mean to cut you off. Maybe you're bad with times like me, but what time frame would it have been when you are processing this move?
This is 2011.
Okay.
Yep. 2011. So fast forward a couple of years. I worked a couple of years there. And, so anyways, I was like, okay, well, I can't take any time off work. They don't offer a moving package for team leads. So I went back to my apartment. They gave me the date finally. I went back to my apartment, and I packed everything I possibly could in the back of my dad's Dodge Dakota at that time that I had borrow. And I decided to have a bonfire, just burnt the rest. I mean, it wasn't worth it. So I burnt some, chair. I mean, these were scrap chairs. It smelled like beer, whatever. So I burnt, I burnt whatever I could, whatever.
When they say burn the bridges, baby, you literally did it.
Yeah. It was like, hey, I don't need it. Right. The right thing would have been to find somebody that needed that, but whatever.
Love it.
So I packed up and I was like, okay, where do I go from here? So I worked another shift. I started getting on the phone and calling apartment places that I pulled up online. Well, there's this apartment in Polka, West Virginia.
Polka, baby, the polka dots. The dots.
Right, so I found, and I knew a guy that lived out there. So I contacted him and he was like, yeah, I'll go take a look at it. And he called back. He's like, yeah, I mean, it's all right, And this is one of the this is a true hardcore West Virginia. I won't mention his name, but love him to death. But he, for him, him to say and I'm like, oh, well, okay.
It's like a 3 out of 10 is what he meant.
Yeah. So I called this office and I said, hey, I'm trying to reach the Kanawha office here, and she's like, honey, it's pronounced canal. And I'm like, this is a different part of West Virginia. I'm like Wheeling. God love Wheeling. Yeah. It's still part of the state, but it's Ohio, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's not West Virginia. So I was about to open my book to what true West Virginia was.
Yeah, you were up in them northern parts up there in Wheeling. That didn't count.
No, it didn't count, man. So I ended up going to this apartment. It was $300 a month, and it had no AC, and it was right past the trailer park. And I was like, okay, doors didn't lock, whatever. So, but anyways, $11 an hour, right? So I kicked it, this Duratio, and the West Virginian, the true hard West Virginians will remember this.
Yes.
Listen, Tyler, we did a lot of fishing and stuff when I was in Wheeling. I saved a ton of walleye that I caught out of the Ohio River. I had deer meat, everything. And I purchased myself a small deep freezer and brought all of that with me, put it in my freezer. A week later, the Duratio hit. And so I lost all that meat that I was going to survive on. It was bad, man. So you talk about rough times. But luckily, I was able to, talked about it a little bit, wasn't trying to get anywhere with it, but had some supporters, got me socked back up, and that was really cool. And that was where I knew, man, this Bass Pro Cabela's is a real family. And that was, they really stepped in and helped me out. And, so anyways,
and that's a team lead seat. Who gets the management position at that point?
So the general manager was his name was Matt Leary.
Okay.
He was a great guy, but he was the senior manager of Wheeling, got promoted. So he's the general manager, and then he brought in a couple other department managers that worked there. How it went was general manager. Then you had 2 senior managers and 4 what we call DM department managers. Okay. And so my department manager, he was there, he came from Lowe's or wherever. A lot of the guys came from Lowe's, kind of had the same dynamic. But anyways, 6 months down the road, he got himself in this situation, got terminated. And I was doing a pretty good job, and they were able to promote me into the fishing, power sports, those fishing, fly fishing, power sports manager.
Okay.
So got a promotion, boom, money flow started coming a little better. That was cool. Was able to move out of that apartment, go into an apartment in Cross Lanes, a little better.
Oh, picking up.
Yeah. Picking up, man, moving up in the world. So anyways, was a department manager. We also had a marketing. The store was unfortunately not doing so well.
Really? That's interesting. So back up 1 second. When did the Charleston, West Virginia store officially open?
August 2012.
Okay, 12. All right. So it wasn't doing well in the beginning, you're saying?
We had a great grand opening. We had a lot of staff there and a lot of support. And then it was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. We just had some folks working for us that, probably shouldn't have been working for us. We had a little bit of inexperience with some of the management staff. And so anyways,
because I know, intimately know where he's talking about, I'm from there.
Yeah.
You also at that time frame, and I'm not sure how much of a factor this would have been, but I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are. How much of a factor did it play that Gander Mountain was like right there during that time frame?
Honestly, it didn't. It didn't really play a factor at all. Matter of fact, I think we were, unfortunately, probably fortunately, but unfortunately, the ones that, ended Gander Mountain's, store there. So, So we, Cabela's was still a stable brand. And I mean, it's not, the bad part of it was just, we had, just our customer surveys weren't that great. We had, we just weren't hitting some of the metrics that we were supposed to hit, that kind of thing. Didn't have a great inventory, had a lot of theft issues and that kind of thing. But, and this is all insider information, man. No, not a lot of people are going to know about this, but I don't care to share. And so, but anyways, I then had the opportunity. I worked there. I was able to do the marketing. We had a marketing manager at that time. They had to terminate the marketing manager. I was able to step in, but it was for no extra pay. And it was just one of those, hey, I'll do it. So I thought the marketing manager thing was just going to be like 2-3 week deal. We'd get somebody else, turn it into like a year and a half. So anyways, I was doing marketing. One of the other managers quit. They didn't want to hire anybody for that. At that time, it was just, things were rough. So but it was all opportunities for me.
I was going to say, dude, man, hearing this though, you literally, you were taking blows and you kept being the guy that says, hey, I'll step in. In.
And I was a 70-hour week guy, man. Just, whatever it took, I didn't care. And I just wanted to impress people. And I was able to impress a lot of the regional directors and stuff to visit our store, and they liked who I was and that kind of thing. And so, but there came a time that I thought, if I'm not going to be able to climb in this with the store, then I gotta get out,
well, and Neil, I just wonder if we kind of camp out here, pun intended, if we kind of camp out here in your story for a minute, you ever feel like it sounds like from what I'm hearing that you were constantly like the workhorse. You were the guy that was always, everybody just expected to step up, and you did step up. And it seems like all too often that same story in other people's lives are the people that are also the least respected. They get overlooked because they're just expected to be a workhorse. Mm. And I'm wondering, Neil, is that what it felt like for you, where it sounds like you're saying, it maybe didn't feel mutually appreciated at that time, that all the things you had done and all the hats you had worn and carried that load, you got overlooked. I'm wondering, is that similar to that same story?
In that time, yeah. I was also very young. Cabela as a Bass Pro really looked to, it was like a big time thing to be able to be into a management job. I never saw anybody my age, at that time. And I was 23 years old, 24 years old. Even though, it wasn't like a massive amount of pay or anything like that, it's just retail's it's a tough gig, because you got to start at the bottom and you got to work your way up. If, very rarely you can't come in. I mean, when we hire managers right now, you have to have big box retail experience, not just retail experience. So anyways, yeah, it was, I think it was also had to do with my age and that kind of thing. But I had confidence and I knew I could do it. And I was the guy that was like, I wanted to learn. So like my senior manager, it was a great mentor as well. His name was Ryan. And I would just all the time be like, he'd be like, oh man, I got these surveys I got to handle. And I'm like, let me do it. Let me do it. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, let me call these guys. And he's like, look, these aren't even in your realm, man. These are firearms. I'm like, let me do it. And I wanted, like, I knew my way of learning, throw me in the fire. Throw me in the fire and I will pull myself out of it. And I just had this confidence that was just like, I will figure it out. And so that's the way I learn. I'm a visual learner. I'm not the type can't read an instruction manual.
Yep.
I have too much ADHD. Not happening. Right.
Guilty.
Yeah. So you know,
yes.
And so, so I started to take some other looks because there was another department manager that was working there that I think was kind of able to be pushing himself into that role of that we had an opening in senior manager, but I didn't even apply. So I started to apply to let's go back to Ohio. So Columbus store had opened up during that time too. The backstory on that was I applied for that. I was going to apply for manager, but when my manager got terminated, it was right at that same time, and they talked me into staying in Charleston. So whatever. I was able to go to the Westchester, Cincinnati, Ohio store was opening, and I knew the GM. The GM was actually the Columbus, Ohio GM transferring there, and he really liked me, and he came and worked at our store. He knew I was. His name was Jim Doherty, not with the company anymore, but anyways, we were able to talk. The only problem was, I was like, I want to transfer. I applied for the senior manager role. I interviewed, drove all the way there in a car, showed up in a suit and tie, interviewed in person. And I got turned down from that. I was waiting on a call. And I thought I was pretty confident. I was like, man, I was going to get something because Jim's my guy. When Jim finally reached out and he's like, listen, man, the regional directors still think you're a little young and would like to see you take on like the firearms division, hunting and archery and that kind of thing. Try to work. I've already done all the other departments. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I'm thinking, what's the money? Higher cost of living
he
here.
Means there in what you said, Westchester.
Yeah.
Okay.
Westchester.
Okay.
Yep. And northern Cincinnati. I'm like, it's going to be a little bit more money. So I started asking. He goes, so we're not able to give you any more money, but we're able to offer you a moving package. And it was like, I don't know. I don't want to say, but it was not a substantial moving package. So I was like, okay. I said, let's do it, as a stepping stone. Yeah.
Dude.
No extra pay. So I went there. At that time I was driving a 96 Jeep Cherokee.
Unibody, baby.
Yeah,
Let's go. Oh, so, that's awesome.
So I went there and was able to get started there as the hunting, did hunting and archery, some firearms. And
I got to stop you. Why? Why did you go? Like, was there something going on in Charleston that was a motivational factor or just why? Why did you take it?
I had a vision, man. I kept that vision from that mentor that told me, stay single, move. And by it just stayed in my head. And at that time I was 20, I was only 20. I was still 24, 25. I was only in Charleston for a year and a half, somewhere in there. And so it was just that motivation. And I also wanted a good experience. So I moved, and luckily I had family there in Cincinnati. So that helped me tremendously. So stayed in their basement. It was a 30-minute drive to work. It was killing me in gas. So sometimes I would sleep out in the Myers parking lot. I did what I had to do, man. And I was still, munching on them Sheets hot dogs when I had to, and they didn't have Sheets, it was like Gold Star or whatever.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Oh, man, those things will kill you.
We literally have one here in Canal and we will not go to it. And I won't ever. I just won't. That's insane.
It's a different kind of chili, man. It ain't no West Virginia chili. Yeah. Dude, it's got beans in it.
It'll carry you up both ways.
Yeah.
So,
Terrible. But anyways, I'll try to fast forward a little bit. After that, it does start to get kind of good and a little bit faster pace. But I ended up was able to work there in Cincinnati for a little bit, 8 months actually. And the Lexington, Kentucky store was opening, and I thought man, that's great. I was able to meet the GM for the Lexington, Kentucky store. His name's Jody Gamble. Jody's still with the company. He's actually now the Sevierville, Tennessee. So if you go out to, if you end up going out to
like
Dollywood,
or Knoxville, or
yep, you will be able to stop in the Sevier store. And Jody is he's by hands down one of the best mentors I had in the company. And so Jody was able to take me under his wing. He was able to fight to offer me the senior manager job. And I was able to take it at the base pay they offer senior managers. Again, you're just a low person on the totem pole when you're moving up in the company. And so I took it and ran with it. And again, I was the go-to, whatever you need, alarms ended up sounding at 2 a.m. I was at the store. And I would work there 2 a.m. to my closing shift the next day if I had to. So just again, and opening up a store, like I did 3 grand openings, and it is a lot of work, like a ton of work, but it's rewarding because you get to start your team off. I was able to develop, and same thing in Westchester, I was able to develop my team. Didn't have anybody doing that for me. I was able to hire my team, develop my team. They led me to success. Then I was able to go to Lexington and develop the whole store as an assistant, and it really helped me. And then I worked there in Lexington for a little bit. It was a great ran store. We had a ton of directors and that kind of thing come visit, and I was able to meet the president of the company, CEO, that kind of thing. So they all started to know who I was.
And how long were you in Lexington? Because you're saying about 8 months in Cincinnati. I didn't even know about the stop in Cincinnati. I knew of Lexington. Then, so how long at Lexington?
Lexington, I was there for 1 year and 2 months.
Wow, dude. Wow.
Yeah,
So I got to keep track here. We moved from Wheeling to Charleston, then from Charleston to Westchester, then from Westchester to Lexington.
Yep.
So we're already in 4 moves here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I know. And we're just going on and on, but
well, and I really hope the right people that are listening, I really hope you'll share this, especially Neil can agree with me. Share this with a young man or woman who needs to have a purpose or does have a purpose and is looking for what is the story of the try, fail, adjust, try, fail, get back up again, try, fail forward. Like, listen to this. This is insane, dude. You unpacking this. How many people would have gotten off this train by now? Like many.
Yeah.
All right, keep going because I know where this goes. So Lexington, you're in 8 months, you said?
Yeah. And in between that time too, Tyler, I was applying for other places, but I was getting, when I was trying to reach that senior manager role, especially, I was getting turned down. I wouldn't get calls back. It was different regions and that kind of thing. But I just said, you know what, let's keep on rolling. So I was in Lexington. We were a great store, really helped us out. And my directors were great, but they needed support. Like, it was right before Black Friday, right? Like, we were leading up into the holidays, and a GM quit out of the blue in our region. Our region stretched clear to, as the eastern region stretched clear up to Maine. And, but we had a GM quit, was in the Berlin, Massachusetts store, which is about 45 minutes northwest of Boston, right? And so this was, they had a GM quit. It was right before the holidays. And one of the regional director called Jody Gamble and was like, listen, he's like, do you think by any chance Neil would be willing to go to Berlin for a little bit just to help him out? And he's like, let me ask him. So Jody comes in, he says, hey, Neil, I got Tracy on the phone. And he said, he wants to know if you want to go to Berlin, Massachusetts. I said, where in the heck's that at? He goes, well, it's kind of near. He said, he said, it's kind of near Boston. I'm like, oh, like the Boston Tea Party, like all that stuff. I was like, I don't know much about it. He goes, yeah. So I was like, okay. He's like, when can you go? I was like, I'll get on a plane tonight. And he's like,
what?
He's like, so you can be there tomorrow? And I'm like, he's like, Neil, we wouldn't normally ask people to do that. Like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, give me a ticket. So got me a ticket and flew right out of Lexington to Berlin, Massachusetts, in Boston, landed in Boston, rented my car, got to the store. I didn't know what to do, so I was like, I knew they needed help, and it was right before the holidays. So I walked into that place at 7 a.m. in the morning and walked in, introduced myself to the managers, and said, hey, let's get to work. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, let's go walk this Black Friday sales ad. Let's get to work. So I walked down there, and I guess the president of the company had just visited the store like right before they had to come in and terminate the GM. So they were just there. And I remember it's like one of our biggest sellers during the holidays is smokers. And I remember going to their back room, and they said they had like just walls of these smokers that were going to be on sale. And you kind of had to like what's called uncase things out of the back room. Like you can't just like grab it. Like you have to systematically have it taken out. So I looked at a guy, the backroom guy, I said, hey man, I don't know if we've met, but I'm Neil. I'm here as the interim GM here for a little bit to help you guys out. I was like, can you get that system gun set up for me to pull a few things back here? And he's like, yeah, man. Yeah. He logged me in, and I said, hey, can we get all the managers back here? And they all came back there, and I'm like, hey guys, we're gonna pull some stuff, and we're gonna get some stuff out here to the sales floor for the ad. And he's like, okay. So I took the thing and I logged it in, and I went beep 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 all the way across both ends of the entire warehouse. And they said, did you just make the entire warehouse active? And I said, yep. And they said, who's all going to pull all this stuff out? And I looked around and I said, all of us. And they're like, oh boy. And I was like, let's get started. So we do it. And I stayed there till midnight, and I had got on off a plane, got about 6 hours of sleep in the hotel, was there at 7 a.m. And I left the store at midnight, and we had literally the entire store like reset. And so we got through Black Friday. I worked every single day while I was there. And it was Tuesday the next week, and we spent a ton of time recovering and getting the store right. The president came back and showed back up and came back into the store, and he said, have you been here? And I said, yeah. He goes, this place looks totally different. And I was like, yeah. He goes, no, it's the best I've ever seen this place look. And he said, and you said you're a senior manager in Lexington, Kentucky? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, I want you to get ready. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, just be ready. And I'm like, okay. And next thing you know, that regional director, Tracy, calls me up. He goes, dude, you just impressed the crap out of the president of the company. He goes, he's like, man, it's your show now. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, we have Bristol, Tennessee, Bristol, Virginia, and Charleston, West Virginia opened up. He's like, you should apply. And I'm like, okay. So I threw my application in both. And it was the first time ever he told me I was the first person ever that actually was being able to have a choice of which area I wanted to go to. And I said, I want to go back to Charleston. So I spent the rest of the holidays in Berlin, Massachusetts. They showed up, did my interview there. And, by March, like I said, I left out of Berlin, and after the holidays, January, and in March, I was in Charleston, West Virginia as the GM at 29 years old.
Dude, I have been quiet this whole time. Let's freaking go. Gosh, I'm ready to rip this table. Dude, that is unbelievable. Gosh, this is the thing, Neil. I hope you hear this enough. No one does what you just said for the last 40 minutes. No one does that. Like how many people I can think of, and I won't name names, how many people I can think of that a job that they were at, they apply for another position and they say, number one, no, we can't give it to you. And then number two, when you apply for another one, we're only going to give you the same. We can't even pay you anymore, but we want to know if you'll move. And you say yes. And then they have you go somewhere else and they don't give you any more money and you stick there. And then they ask you to go clean up places and you do it. Like, so few people do this. So few people. And look at what you just said. Someone told you and planted a seed in your brain that if you worked hard, you stayed focused, you stayed steadfast on the course. And this course was wild. Like, that's way wilder than I actually thought it was. I had an assumption in my head. I thought it went Charleston, Lexington, Charleston. So had no idea it went, and I'm going to try my best here. Wheeling, Charleston, Westchester, Lexington, Berlin, Massachusetts, Charleston.
Yep.
6 places. Am I right? Or is it 7?
I think 6, but I didn't really share much in between. Yeah, I was able to. Yeah, I was able to go. You talk about fix it, man. In between that journey, they sent me to Huntsville, Alabama to clean up a store. The crazy thing why the craziest thing why Bristol, Virginia was an opening because that store needed fixed. They sent me there for a while to fix that store. I was in Gainesville, Virginia. Helped grand open that store. So in between that time, I went to numerous other stores. They called me. They wanted to fix it, man. And I coined the name for my regional director, the Real Deal Neil. So they called me the Real Deal, and they just would send me different places. Just I got along with everybody and fixed, just went in and tried to fix broken stores. And so Charleston was able to have a guy step in there for like 6 months after the termination of the GM that was originally hired there. He got the wheel turned, but there was a lot of cleaning up to do. And when I got there, same mentality, got to work 7 straight days, whatever, just cleaning up stuff. And just
when
during
when did you get that GM position in Charleston?
It was March of 2017.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been a minute. I didn't know it had been that long.
Yeah. March of 2017, man. So yeah, I was able to get it right, man. And just, unfortunately there's just, you got to do, like you said, you got to run a tight ship and you have to do things that, I think it's one of great business terms, make unpopular decisions. And, you have to, you just have to do things that, might be a little risky, but it's the right thing for the health of the business. And I treated every place I went, I treated it as if it was my own. And I still do with Bass Pro Shops. Is like that store is not a company store. I look at it as it's my store and I am running the business for the business. And so we got to be clean on our books. We got to be smart financially in what we do. And we got to make things, we got to make ways meet and also treat our outfitters with a high level of respect. So I've always been a yes, sir, man. I was not in the military. But if you're the janitor, you're getting treated with the same respect as the CEO. That's just the way I lived. And so, everybody was a sir. When I walked in, hello, sir, how you doing? I stood up, shook people's hands. If you're a part-time outfitter, you got that same respect. And I was able to get people behind me. And I think I was able to have the 60% weight behind me that led me to, unfortunately, have to stay after that 30% and get that revolved and changed. And now I'm very fortunate to say, I hate talking like this, man, because I am like humble. I don't like being like, I got this and this.
Dude, this is so belief building, though, for so many people.
But the Charleston, West Virginia store currently is
Wait. Hey, Neil, is it doing well? That's what I was going to ask next.
We're one of the best stores you can go to, and Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops. We're actually considered we're year after year after year best service scores. We're actually currently standing like 5th in the company in service scores, and there's 180 stores. And we do an amazing job with the club credit business, and we take things to the next level. I have a great manager there, and she's actually been able to promote multiple different managers out of the store throughout my career. And we run a great store, man, and we're all in it together. And I don't consider myself any higher than anybody working in that store. If some needs, taken out of the back room, we're grabbing pallet jacks and went on to the back room. If they say we got to clean up in the restroom and nobody's around, I'm putting the gloves on. I mean, it's just, you got to take care of your organization. And so I've been very fortunate. Bass Pro is just a fantastic company, but it has led me to open up other books and seek out other things to be a bouncing income as well. And what we do. Met my amazing wife in Charleston, and I don't want to we're just going deep and deeper, but
I love this.
Yeah.
So let's add this as a little spice into the story here. You were told by this mentor to stay single and be willing to move, and you were willing to move. And how long did you stay single?
Well, 2021 is when I married my wife, and so we met in 2018.
Okay.
And like I said, I got the Charleston, West Virginia store in 2017, and
so you honored the word, man. I mean, you really did. You stayed steadfast.
Yep.
Man.
And the funny thing is, that guy was the wheeling GM that got me going. He ended up being for a short period of time, was my regional director. So he was still my boss. He ended up becoming my boss once again, and then he had retired out of the company. So
that's so awesome. That is so awesome. I'm sure Neil, I'm sure if he's listening to this, he's super proud of you.
Yeah, man.
Like that is so awesome. I honestly would have missed that journey by a mile. And I just hope you know how impactful that is just to hear, because you truly have done what so few people do. Truly. You really have. You've done what very few people do. And I'm sure it goes without saying that Cabela's and Bass Pro now, as you've continued to graduate, would consider you a staple of those places. I mean, dude, like, that is insane. That is, I know I've been in Neil's stores. I've been in Neil's stores a lot, and you wouldn't know if Neil was like the dude running the bow shop or the dude running the entire place, because he's always somewhere. He's always talking to a customer. He's always checking on something. He's always like, you can't find him most times in the store because he's doing something. He always is. I mean, I always would tell people, hey, like, the really tall guy, like the super tall guy, is he here today? And they're like, oh yeah, he's here. You just never find him because he's helping somebody or doing something.
Yeah.
I always heard this, Neil, and it when you mentioned that 60% of the load was on you, at times I always heard, this is back in my Amway days, even they always talked about, you can't push a wet noodle, in leadership, you can't push a wet noodle, but you can pull one.
Mm-hmm.
And the analogy always, the way it was meant to be taken is that if you lead from the front, like you always have, and you can pull the organization with you, you can pull a wet noodle. You just can't push one.
Yeah.
Pushing from the back. Hey, you go clean the bathroom. Hey, there's been a mess in the bathroom. Go clean it. Hey, get these pallet jacks. Do this. Hey, scan this stuff from the back and get it onto the floors. You can only lead from behind the horses so far. Mm-hmm. And if you are a truly good leader and you're leading out from the front, they will follow you. And it's obviously, it's evident in your trajectory, in your career, that they have followed you. They have.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to bring on some of your people here, but I know they respect you. Like, we know, we know that they do. Man. So, everybody's been on the tip of their toes here listening. What, for this podcast, if people listen this far, Neil, what is like the 20% lifetime discount code that we can all get for Bass Pro now? Like, what's the numbers we need to plug in that's like lifetime 20%? Is that a thing or no?
Oh man, I'd love to be able to share that. I will tell you, if you want to, if you want to become a Bass Pro Shops or employee or outfitter, if you would like to apply in workforce, you will receive a 50% off discount on Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's branded items. Most all Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's branded items. There are some that don't qualify, but a majority, 75% of it's a branded item, and that is even keel. I will tell you, when I was with Cabela's, we used to have like a tier level discount, and it was called like Base Camp, Midline. It was like Base Camp, Timberline, and Summit. And if you were with the company more than 7 years, you got Summit, which means you got things 10% above cost.
Whoa.
And you talk about a sick discount that was awesome. Like, oh my gosh, like if you wanted anything, like, but the company invested in that because they knew you were going to try the product, use the product, and be able to sell the product. And Johnny Morris does the same thing. It's the smartest like benefit. It's the smartest avenue to go because the outfitters are using, and we call our outfitters that do, we call them end users. My store holds probably 90% end users. We try to hire end users, and end users are people that eat, sleep, dream this, and they're around it. So anyways, yes, great discount if you work for us. And there's other ways you can get that as well. But unfortunately, I can't throw out the lifetime.
Man.
I will always serve my customers the best ability and find you the best deals we possibly can.
I know he will. All right. So this has been so good. And there was 2 tiers that I really wanted to be able to talk about with Neil, and we would spend hours and hours. There's a story that I want to have time for him to be able to tell. And then we're going to have to bring you back on, Neil, because what I wanted to dive into that could take us another 2 hours is, what must it be like? We talked about this offline. Like, what must it be like to be in the outdoor space and love the outdoors? I am curious, Neil. Let's tickle our senses here a little bit. Were you as big of an outdoorsman prior to getting into the Cabela's hierarchy, or have you kind of grown to be a bigger outdoorsman being inside of the outdoor space in retail?
I always grew up. I was always fascinated with the outdoors, man. As a little young buck, man, I had family that hunted and just inspired me. So yeah, I mean, I've always been there. But I will tell you that working for Bass Pro Shops, you develop more of a hunger to want to get out and do it because you're working around it all the time. So like you hear the stories and you see people, and then you kind of hang this like big hat on your head. Like, I need to, I want to get a trophy deer or a nice turkey. So like I can put it out there and be like, hey, I'm still a top dog,
and you can resonate and you can relate with, it's like, you can't sell a product to somebody if you don't even have a concept of the user experience. So,
right.
Man, well, we're gonna have to save that for another day. I want to hear some of your hunting stories and some of because Neil, if you guys go follow him on social media, Neil has some really good stuff that he puts out. And I think there's always cool pictures of you, and through all of your moves, you've been able to hunt in multiple states. You've been able to be successful in multiple states. So, to kind of segue into this next topic, Neil's been working on a home family farm purchase. So I want to peel the layers back on this.
Yeah, man.
If you guys thought his journey professionally wasn't going to be belief building, or that it may not apply to you, just wait until we talk through this family farm purchase that he's going to be able to tell us about. But Neil, before we get there, it sounds like in all of these moves, you also, as steadfast as you were and focused on your career, you didn't buy any land or kind of like plant roots in that journey, correct?
Right. Yeah. I was about a house that we later decided to rent, and so we're currently renting, hoping to look to buy, and we're renting actually off my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and we're looking to build our dream home at some point, but we're not in a hurry for that. We have a plan, and we want to continue to invest and grow the best we can before we get into anything that we don't necessarily need to be in right now. So.
And do you think Beckley or that area is home forever?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
My wife and I both have aspirations to maybe want to get out eventually, and we're open to other areas. But with the it's only 2.5 hours from home, Chillicothe, Ohio, and that's where all my family still resides. And then it's so peaceful out here, man. I love West Virginia. It's it is built for the outdoorsman.
For sure.
So
that's why they call it wild and wonderful.
Yeah. So Beckley, but my mother and father-in-law own property out in Gent, which is about 20 minutes more south. And they got a farm out there, and they actually own Glade Creek Farms wedding venue. So we got married there and all that, but that's, again, long story. But yeah, so that's probably where we'll end up.
Okay. Hey, makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into, Neil actually gave me credit for helping him along the way on this, like before we started the recording, and it kind of blew my mind because I don't really think I was that much help to him, but we'll talk through this, Neil. So tell us what you've been into lately and how did this come about? That I'm guessing, because we haven't actually, I told him we're not going to talk about this offline. I want to hear about this on the recording. You said you just completed the purchase of some family farm ground. Is this correct?
Yep, absolutely. Yep. 70 acres, man.
Let's go.
Big dream, man.
Let's go. All right. So without incriminating yourself or exposing yourself to things you don't want to talk about, let's dive into this story. And obviously Neil's not going to incriminate himself. This farm's in Ohio. It's not West Virginia. There's not, weird stuff going on. So where's this property at, Neil? But back into it. Where's this at? And give us the details.
Yeah. So, it's located like on the Ross Pike border, Ross County, Pike County border. It was home, man. Grew up there, but yeah, very peaceful out there, and it connects to some big lease property that actually originally was owned by the paper mill, but now switched hands, and it's the huge Scioto Valley Land Company that you see everywhere. And fortunately, I'm able to manage that lease. That's 674 acres, but so it butts up and joins against my property.
Okay.
So it's pretty awesome.
So how did this happen? What kind of became, and I'm guessing, Neil, timing is always everything on this stuff. I'm guessing you probably, if this had come up 5 years ago, would you have even been able to complete this?
No, definitely not in the position then to complete that. And look, I'm just a regular person out there. I don't care to share, man. I lived large when I finally started to make money. Got myself in some debt, and do not mind at all to share. My wife and I are very open to be able to tell anybody that, we were the regular, not really keep up with the Joneses, but we like big things, we like to go out and travel in places. So, I got ourselves into a little hole and knew we needed to dig out. Also a little bit inspired by Dave Ramsey's planning a little bit there too. So, sort of put some of those, not all the Dave Ramsey plans into place, but some of them, and was able to snowball some debt and get ourselves into a position that we could have never dreamed we would be in. And so within the last year or two, we've really set ourselves up for success. But anyways, through some unfortunate times, my dad's passing and he had the family farm. It was altogether, it used to be like 120, 130 acres. Okay. It was cattle, he raised cattle. Sold off some of that and got down to about 105 acres. And so the 105 acres was available. We had to, obviously it was hung up in the estate, got it appraised. And the appraisal prices were significantly higher than what I assumed they were going to be. And I, have 4 other siblings. And so, we talked through it, and I was on edge about, hey, I really want to purchase this 70 acres. I would really be interested. But I told them back when that happened, I needed 12 to 18 months because I thought I needed to save up a huge amount of money, because I know that the old saying goes is you got to have 20%, 25%. If you're going to buy raw land, it's 25%. So started putting back money, started saving. And then I started to reach out to some lenders. At the time I was willing to, we were trying to get things on the ball, and was falling short. A lot of the lenders were saying like, no, we can't make that work. Like we can't, the only thing we got to tie in collateral and all this and that. And I just, it just wasn't going where I thought it would. And I'm like, man, how am I going to get this loan? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, and I follow Tyler, man. Like I said, we've been good buddies through we haven't really talked a lot all the time, but when I see Tyler, it's like old brotherhood, man. We can connect.
Yeah, dude.
And so like, I went on a whim, and I saw the success you've had in purchasing land. And I'm like, he's got to know somebody. It just pays to know somebody, man. And it's crazy how, God puts all that in context and leads us to people and stuff, man. And so I was able to reach out and get a hold of you somehow, some way, through your multiple, AI driven. No, I'm just joking.
I'm pretty reachable,
Yeah, no, you are.
Especially if I'm waiting on that discount, that
Yeah. He was like, man, I think Neil's he's finally calling me with that lifetime discount.
But he has that. Yeah, he has a good connection. No, dude. No, I've loved keeping in touch with Neil. So keep going here. So, but I guess I do want to I want to clean something up for myself here. I didn't know this property you just bought was your literal family farm. Did you grow up here?
Grew up, left away at 19. Never was able to come back because of, obviously making my home in Beckley and the journey. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyways, was, just it holds extreme amount of sentimental value to me. And so, and plus it's like really sought after land, and Ross, Pike County, if you're an outdoorsman, that is really good land. Yeah. Don't want to release that.
I literally said, Neil, like if you have the first hiccup here, just let me know.
Yeah. That's right, man.
I'll come right in the knight in shining armor here. No, dude, I haven't seen his farm, but I know the area, and actually, I think you sent me a pin, but like, yeah, if you just say Ross County, dude, it's better. Yeah. I love Ross County. So,
and this was really, there's some tillable land on the property, but obviously that was appraised much higher. Not what I wanted to. Like the land I was going to purchase was pretty much 70 acres of non-tillable. I mean, very little bit of tillable ground there to work with. So raw land, no structures on the 70-acre tract,
so I'm guessing you had to deal with, you talked about the sibling world here, and something you said, Neil, that's powerful. You may not think it is, but I heard you say that you told him I wouldn't, I need 12 to 18 months to kind of get myself ready to do this. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes that can't happen. And so it sounds like you got a really good win there, that you were able to at least hedge your interest in the property and, give yourself some time to build up your finances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It did. It got me serious, and I started really cranking out what I believed I needed to have. And so, we finally got together and decided on a price, and I threw out an offer that, I didn't know it would turn into more of a bigger discussion, especially when you get in family members, it's hard. It's tough times to push through that, and you got to get everybody to agree. And so anyways, I won't get into that, but fortunately all my family agreed that they knew I was going to be purchasing less than the appraised price, but they knew that, hey, it's not significantly lower or anything like that. I was 17% less than the appraised price, which is still really good in the buyer's world. But
for sure.
And
they obviously knew you're probably not planning to just roll the thing. You wanted it for yourself.
Right. Absolutely. And so, we finally came to the conclusion we're going to roll with this price. At that point, like I said, I was reaching out to the lenders, and it was, like I was sort of there, but not all the way there to have that full 20, 25% that I could just be like, boom, here it is. Yep. But I was and when I said that 12 to 18 months, like we're in the 7-month time frame. We still weren't reaching the 12 months. So I had not saved up that amount, but I was wanting to I was still doing a marathon, but at the same time, I was really starting to want to sprint, man, because it was closing in and I was starting to get some noise that, realtors were involved in some of the other property, talking to my family about, oh, this is a place, we need to get this on the market. So I was like, I got to turn up the gear. So anyways, I said, I got to call Tyler. And he was just the right guy. Just something led me to call you. And you, without hesitation, guided me right on a perfect path, literally with sharing a contact that just immediately put the pin right down where it needed to be. And I called that lender.
And you can tell all. She's going to come on here. So tell all. Yep. If you're comfortable, Neil, too, because we're not talking about where your farm specifically is. Would you care to break down? If you're either here's your total purchase price, and then what did it maybe appraise for? Yeah. Because I'm hoping for you that obviously there was perceived equity in the beginning, and that was able to build that loan to what it was. And the only reason I ask that we talk openly, Neil, is because there's literally people listening to this right now that are saying, I can never buy my family farm. I'd love to buy my family farm, but I can't. I just never could. So I think your story it's a testament to like, hey, you gotta keep searching. You gotta keep going to the next thing. You can't stop. You gotta keep peeling back layers. You gotta keep making phone calls. So, who did you connect with? Who did I connect you with? I think it's Amanda Falk. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So I don't care how to get more specific with
jump
it. I, talking about my saving journey, I knew I needed to. So the farmer praised, it was considered 66 plus or minus. But later found out that there's some more acreage involved in it, but it was 66 plus or minus. It appraised at 280,000, which is a good price in Ross County. Yep. But I threw out the offer of 225,000. Okay. So anyways, I knew what kind of money I needed, but I only had about 10 grand saved up at the time. And knew I needed to push a little harder until I started to hear about some of the opportunities, using collateral and that kind of thing. So we do own the rental home. We definitely have some equity built out of that, but it's
Where's
not
the rental
really.
Home at, by the way?
It's in Elkview, West Virginia.
Okay, all right. Yep. I thought it was in West Virginia. I just didn't know where. I'm taking notes here.
Yep. So anyways, reached out to Tyler. He started to explain about Amanda Falk, and he said, man, he was like, they do a deal like 15% down at 15 years, 20% down at 20 years, 25% down at 25 years. And I'm like, no freaking way. Like, I had no clue you could ever go less than 20% on a land purchase. And at that, like raw land, like there's a lot of cutoffs there that other lenders will not even, get it. I had a lot of pullback from lenders, saying, is there access? Does it have a parcel? Is there, this and that, just asking all kind of questions. I reached Tyler, and it's like, this is like, I literally think, I don't want to say a fifth grader. Like it's not like beyond measures, science here to go through these processes. I mean, I am not like the most intelligent person out there. Like, I kind of need somebody to paint the picture for me. So, boom, he gave me the contact, Amanda Falk. I called her. She's like, hey, yeah, I know Tyler. We talked about him for a second and then went on. She's like, where's this land? I told her it's here. How much are you planning to purchase for? 225,000. Did you already agree with all your family? Yes. Okay, well, here's how we'll do this step right here, this step right here. And I was like, she gave me like 3 steps. Basically, we'll send out, we'll get our own appraisal. We'll get you pre-approved first. We'll send an appraiser out, get the appraisal. we'll come back. We'll be able to, my fortunate situation, because technically already being a co-owner of the land, is able to use the equity in that property. Now, if you're not in that position, you're able to use other collateral, like you said, your home or equity and assets and that kind of thing. So anyways.
So you were already on the deed, just to catch everybody up here. You already technically on the deed because you had inherited a position.
Yes.
So also, and so Amanda Falk, I'll bring her on here. She's with Rural First. They are the residential non-business side of Farm Credit. I'm going to butcher all this. We'll have her clean it up, but there's the ag or Farm Credit is the lender. And then they have the agricultural side. That's like commercial business use type loan products. Then she is at Rural First, which is your, non-business entity, a Neil, an end user, someone who just buys this as a recreational piece. They're not planning on making money on it. They're planning on using it personally or building a home in the future, whatever. That is that side of the lending world that she works in. So the other thing you just said too, that I want to make sure everybody can understand is that they match their down payment. If you're going to put 10% down, they'll give you a 10-year note. 15% down, 15-year note. So they match your down payment to the term. So what Neil's saying that you got to be able to think through here is you want to my opinion, you want the longest note you can get so your monthly payment's affordable, but that has a higher down payment. So if you can afford, even in the short term, to have a lower down payment and a higher monthly payment, that's how you can kind of pick. I think of it as like a seesaw. You kind of pick in the seesaw where you want to land. Mm-hmm. Higher monthly payment if you have a lower year term, but lower down payment. So I hope everybody's following so far. So and we're going to get to, I want to know which one you picked and then what it appraised for. I want to do the math here.
Yeah. So was able to get through, got the pre-approval, all that. They send you a form. You just basically got to know what you have and put down your assets, that kind of thing, what you have in the bank, that kind of thing. Fortunately, like I said, my wife and I got things cleaned up pretty well together as a team. And she's, my wife's a nurse practitioner. So that really helps out in our salaries together. But anyways, we were able to get it appraised, and the property actually ended up coming in appraising for, I think it was right around $300,000. And so that appraisal helped with that amount of equity that I was able to use as collateral for the down payment. And I was able to go with the 20-year, 20% down. Yeah. So that worked out good. And
did you even have did you have to actually put any money down, or did you have that came in as the collateral?
No, I didn't have to put any money down. So that came in as the collateral. Man, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, I got another question we're going to jump to, but carry on. 300 grand. So he steps into today. And again, family agreement here. So no harm, but Neil stepped into $75,000 in equity today. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I want to cover something real quick while we're on appraisals. I need you guys to know, if you're listening, that appraisals are incredibly subjective unless there's an actual number somewhere. If Neil had a purchase price, which by the way, done the math, that's $3,200 an acre ish that you bought that farm at. I know that area well enough to tell him that he could get this much an acre, $5,500 an acre. I just did it, $5,800 an acre times his 70 acres resale, which is $385. So there's way more equity there than he probably knows, but there is just no appraiser anymore after 2008. There's no appraiser sticking their neck out that far. They're not going to write an appraisal for $385,000 when they see a purchase price of $225. They're not doing it. Yeah. So Neil, pretend I told you this offline, but you got more equity than that, my friend, but let's keep going. So you put no money down, essentially being in short ownership or, being in an inherited position. You're at a 20-year note, 20% down, and you closed, right? You just closed. Mm-hmm. How long ago did you close?
It's about a month ago. Okay,
nice. So, tell me how it felt when it was all done. What did it feel like?
Oh man, it was, it's hard to explain that feeling. Is priceless. I mean, you you feel amazing. You're just like, man, I am a landowner. Like,
Yeah.
and the funny thing is, like, you know how title companies and all that, like, some things are a little wishy-washy, not fully released, but there was an issue with the original survey of another tract that was purchased, and it was believed to be 29 acres, and it turned into 19 acres.
Ooh.
So it's like, hey, where'd that other 10 acres go? You know, so if you pull up the HuntWise app
know.
and you look on the recent surveys that you can possibly get, my property shows 83 acres of the tract that I purchased, which is, I don't know. I'm going to do some more research there, but I think there's some acreage in there that.
Did you record that? Was your property fully boundary surveyed?
No.
Okay. I was going to say,
I did not have a survey. Yeah.
I wouldn't. We had a property years ago. This is obviously everybody listening, this is off the record. We would never recommend you do this, but I had a property, just the same scenario, that was taxed at 129 acres, I want to say, and it was 158 on survey. So I just kept forgetting to tell them. It was weird. I just kept forgetting to tell the county. So good stuff, Neil.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's you just, some information you share, some you don't. But
dude. This is awesome. You just closed. You've got family property now, and I got a question that this could truly take us hours. You and I are gonna have to talk offline, but just to give our listeners some teasers on what you can do next. You've closed. I want to ask you what you're doing next, but do you happen to have any timber at all on that property?
So the property was actually timbered about 15 years ago. So there's some growth happening there, but the property definitely has a lot of poplar, ash. We got definitely some oak in there, that kind of thing. So there's still some timber left to be timbered, but I went a different route. I actually immediately was able to, through my contacts in Chillicothe, find land clears. A couple of guys actually reached out to Harris Dirt Works, and it's a great company to use. He's got a great outfit. He doesn't even need to do it because the guy's like a freaking engineer, but he has a great equipment and the best service I could ask for. I had 3 quotes on what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a 2.5 acre clearing. And he was, I was able to take that $10,000 that I had where I did not have to use it and was able to apply that as an investment into the property. And I don't know if the viewers can show, but I have a little something to be able to show. He just was able to finish up. So we'll see if I can pull this up on my phone and show you. So I have a Tacticam security cam set up on the property. And let me make sure I'm going to swipe right. Okay. So if you were able to see that.
Yep.
Got the low battery coming in.
Yep.
So that is what the property looked like before the clearing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it went the wrong way. And that is the clearing that just finished on that property.
Let's go.
2.5 acres. So I'm going to put a gate there at the entrance, bring in some gravel, get some pines in there to kind of seclude a little bit, might plant some king grass. It basically improves some of the habitat in that one area. We're going to sow some winter wheat this year, but I am going to be purchasing some storage containers and make myself a little cabin Airbnb out there.
Yes.
So basically all the money that I'm getting back and is just going to be reinvested. Fortunate enough to was able to form an LLC with my current rental home through guidance of my mother-in-law. This is something for business owners. It's kind of crazy, but you can lease property to your LLC.
Yep.
So I am currently leasing that property. My LLC is the tenant, and I'm able to use when I travel and all that, and all the work I'm putting into the property and the property taxes itself, since it is triple net.
You said triple net, which That is another road we could go down, but you're triple net leasing from yourself to your other self, from your left pocket to your right pocket, meaning your LLC. Triple net means that his LLC pays all the taxes, all the maintenance, and the insurance for the property. Yeah. So your plan is to put an Airbnb there, something you could use for yourself for hunting season, that kind of thing, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Pretty much. That's looking for investment right back into the property and let the property do the work for us. So, yeah,
dude, I'd love to jump online sometime with you and just talk shop on Onyx, even like just setup, design, screening, any of that stuff. I love this stuff, but I'm just telling you, you really probably should, unless you just absolutely know you have no timber to cut at all. You really should have. I would suggest Madison Raber. He's a guy that I've had on the podcast. Go listen to his podcast that I did, but I would suggest you get a hold of Madison Raber, and this is why, because even if you did an incredibly select cut, and I am telling you this on this recording so anyone else can let their ears perk up. If you did an incredibly select cut, including making even more food plots or making other road systems as part of the bid from the loggers, and I know you said you have a logging relative.
Yeah.
If you did an incredibly select cut, you can take that money on the timber tax-free. So if you got 40 grand, 30 grand, 20 grand, whatever it is, 50 grand on your timbering on a select cut, and you got a company to build a road system for you, as part of it, and maybe does a couple more food plots, that money can be taken tax-free, because when you bought the farm, all you have to do is set it up that your basis was $225,000, which was your purchase. And when you bought and you sold that timber, you bought that timber at $225,000 with the land. You just have to allot it when you do your taxes. You have to allot that your basis in the land is now lower. But if you got 40 grand on the timber, it's tax free. So I'm just saying, and I'm just talking out loud here, that's a great influx to the plan that you just said. That's a great, leg forward.
Yeah.
And I also would say you could go back to Amanda now that all this has closed. I would think if it appraised at 300, let's do some math here. It appraised at 300.
Yep.
And let's say you made some improvements, it would probably appraise even higher. But if it appraised at 300 and 80% of 300 is 240, you even have $15,000 on 80%. You have $15,000 right now because you paid $225. She might have already told you, but you've got $15,000 in extra that they would lend you if you just converted your loan to a refinance, a cash out refinance product. I'm sure you could strip another 15 grand. It'd raise your payment some, but I'm just trying to think towards if this is a way to influx some capital into what you're doing, and then that money is now going to start paying you back because you're creating an asset there. You're creating a cash asset, cash producing asset. That's my whole thing with, if I'm going to buy a farm for myself that's a forever farm and it has trees on it at all, I'm getting an assessment. I'm getting an assessment because it's tax free.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just food for thought. Conservation easements, another thing I would talk to you about long-term, thought on how to help save your taxes and help save on other benefits. But another story for another day. But I would consider looking at the timber if you even think you have a little bit. It might surprise you, what could be available to you that could benefit you from the whitetail perspective and benefit you by putting cash in your pocket.
Absolutely. I'm willing.
It can't hurt you. Have an estimate done. Yeah. I would. And I know you've got a relative that's a timber guy, but you may just want to do this in secret in case.
No, I understand.
Relatives always want the relative price as well. And you may need the best bid. You know what I mean? So
I found that out with the land clearing. I mean, not to really, but I had some people that thought I had some close connections with come take a look at it, and then you had an established outfit that came in, and I thought I was going to get a discount with the guy that I used.
Yep.
I come in this another outfit, and he actually quotes a much larger area to be cleared for a lot less, and so you definitely have to get those 2 to 3 quotes anytime. And I learned that from my that's from my Cabela's experience, my Bass Pro experience. When we do at facilities things, I got to get 3 quotes for the company. So obviously, if Johnny Morris, who is running a fantastic business, worth $5.5 billion, is making you go out and get 3 quotes, it's probably a good business decision.
Yep.
So,
yep.
so I'm going to take some of that knowledge that I have and some of that and apply it to some entrepreneurship doing on the side there.
So we got two more areas here that this is what I want to spend a minute on, is because I'm incredibly curious. This is for my own benefit. What's some of the first projects you plan to do on this farm now that you've got it under ownership? What are you excited about doing?
Man, so with that clearing of the 2.5 acres, we went ahead and had them go back into the property and found some other areas that little areas that I know are great funnels for deer. Obviously, I'm in the same hustle as everybody else. I love the sport. I love chasing after giant whitetails, fair chase, and I've had some success. I wouldn't consider myself amazing. My biggest deer so far has been about pushing 160. It was like 157, but I've been pretty consistent, getting a 140, 140s class on the ground, which, look, I'm not consistent 150 class guy, but
me neither. So I'm with you.
Chasing them and after them, believe me. But anyways, getting some mineral established in some areas. And we did a little clearing on 2 half-acre areas so we can plant some shady patch type stuff back in the woods, get some additional plots, improve the habitat, get some trails rolling. They cleaned up our main logging trail. I listen to Don Higgins a lot, man, and I know you guys buy power products, and Rich Hickson through your podcast led me to I contacted with Rich, and I may get an evaluation later down the road. He's a great guy to reach out to and learn that podcast. But anyways, with Don Higgins, one of the biggest things that fascinated me about him was do not try to affect the heart of the property. Make sure you're trying to stay out of there. And so my whole scheme's developed around like the outer shells of the property and trying to improve the habitat within and be able to then, use techniques and tactics and entryways in depending on the wind and all that, following doe bedding, just crazy stuff you can get into. I keep my ears open. Again, I wouldn't consider myself just top of the line professional or anything like that, but I have confidence in some of my hunting game, and ways. So anyways, yes, improve the wildlife habitat, keep it clean, neat, organized, and put that Airbnb cabin out there.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Maybe put a few other smaller cabins just in that little way. Maybe I can build like a fence around that, so we're not going in and affecting the rest of the woods there. But yeah, man, that's it. And then hopefully, my wife and I talked about this 3 to 5 year investment plan that we're going to kind of roll on. So I'm very fascinated and interested in the land buying experience to where I'm hoping I can generate the residual income from this property to then allow me to do, like you said, maybe cash out refinances and things to then purchase other property. I do own co-own another property in Kentucky, and currently been actually fortunate enough talking to some of the guys I know from West Virginia in connections for some well drilling in that area too. So, I mean, like, it pays to know people, man, but you know what you get into purchasing land. You might be sitting on a ton of, you get those mineral rights, which 9 times out of 10 you do when you're purchasing the property, but you never know what could be under that soil, especially in West Virginia, Kentucky. But, man, I'm following you, Tyler. Like, that's definitely, footsteps that I'm taking a trail behind and trying to, try to work myself to that, because, that's the dream.
I'm happy to help. Honestly, I'm happy to help in any capacity. I genuinely love looking at people's farms and just giving advice on like what my own thoughts or what jumps out on paper. And I love getting advice as well. Like for me, for my own farms, I love getting the advice from people that I trust. You know, the Don Higgins, I had Wes Delks at my own farm twice. That was Wes is with Don, and I've, of course, bounced stuff off Rich all the time. Other buddies of mine, Ben Rising, I have just learned that experience is the best teacher as long as it's someone else's.
Yeah.
And I think everybody thinks it's sexy to like, well, I want to learn this myself. And I know you're probably a lot like me. I'm stubborn. There are a lot of things I will learn myself, but I have finally found that, especially with land management, it's a very, very slow clock to watch the change of what you do in land. It's a very slow clock, but we only get to really experience that once. You only have one lifetime to like see what you've done. And I've screwed so much stuff up on land and different projects I've done on farms that we've owned over the years. I've screwed so much stuff up that I've just really started to see the immense value in getting it right the first time. And if I don't trust myself to like fully get it right in my head, I can't stress enough for you and your own farm. Like if you got with someone and had just a comprehensive assessment and say, here's my goals, here's my here's what I want to establish. Here's what a win looks like for me. The podcast I released last week was with Greg Kazmierski, and Greg is a whitetail habitat consultant, lives in Scioto County. Great dude, great guy. He has a Instagram it's now called Next Level Whitetail, I think, but it was Whitetail Partners. Look him up. Greg's fantastic, wealth of knowledge. He's clearly thinks about deer day and night and how they utilize property. And anyway, he'd be somebody that I would even recommend you could get to your farm for a negligible price, a very fair, valuable price that could just help you lay out a comprehensive plan. Because what I have found is farm projects are intimidating. By default, they're intimidating. It's big, it's scary, especially, you do a timbering project or something, you get it wrong, and it's 10, 15 years before you're going to recover from a mistake. I just have found, man, I just want to get with the people that have already done this stuff, who can like just give me the scabs and the wounds they've already healed from. They can just tell me how they do it. And you will have a much faster, more successful, quick turnaround to those projects on your farm if you just plagiarize what other people have gotten right, and wrong. You skip the steps they've gotten wrong. But, dude, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see your farm.
Oh, I'd love to have you out, man.
I'd love to come.
That's something we can definitely put on the schedule, man. I'd love to have you out there and just take some walks with me and take a look at some things. But yeah, I'm always open ears, man. I never put it aside myself that you can't learn something from somebody else, and I definitely, like I said, you have that little bit of confidence level, but at the same time, like I went through life too many times and did it my way and found out the hard way. And I think, like, you gotta be open ears. I hear it all the time. My real estate coach, Carl Libba, that I had on here a while back, Carl has really taught me to embrace, like, I don't know what I don't know. Like I'm at a 1 at some things where I don't even know what I don't know. I know so little, I don't even know what I don't know. Yeah. And there's things that I would even say in farm management that I started at a 1 where I didn't even know. Let's talk, like, for example, chemicals. I think chemicals and spraying is still intimidating to like 90+% of the people that are out spraying plots. When I used to hear glyphosate or hear Roundup or clethodim or 2,4-D, I'm like, what are people talking about? What is this stuff? Like, what are we doing? And it just takes time to figure out what that kind of stuff is, but it's intimidating. And I just maintain, if you can learn from someone else's mistakes and apply the success path to your own track record, you'll just go further faster. And so we've cleared up that you don't have the 20% lifetime Cabela's discount for the listeners. That's unfortunate. We'll have to bring Neil back on and see if we can do anything about that. Please go harass him in the Charleston, West Virginia store at any time that you would like. For real, though, I'm sure it'd mean a lot to Neil if you want to go reach out and tell him that this podcast has been impactful.
I got 2 questions that are the final parting. These are just fun questions. And then we got to bring you back on, Neil. Number 1, what is your favorite wild animal to hunt? What's your favorite wild game hunt if you picked?
That's actually a tough question because, you can automatically want to resort to deer hunting. But deer hunting is it's a marathon, man. Like it's obviously too, like it's not turkey hunting is a race, and it is so fun to me because I am a run and gunner. Like I'm not a sit in the blind, wait
Wait on them to come. Yeah.
Archer turkey hunter. Like I'm a run and gunner, and in West Virginia, there is so many opportunities for run and gun. And like, if you know what you're doing in West Virginia turkey hunting, you can look like the freaking Mecca turkey hunter because you will get turkeys down quick and successful. And but it took me a very long time to learn how to hunt West Virginia. And I will just say, ride the ridges and float on the gaps, man. Like you gotta, like, if you want to get to West Virginia, you got to hit them ridge points. You got to know where you're going. And one of the best, places is like, you can just go out to, there's multiple state parks in West. That is like, it's like the hidden gem, man. And I don't care to share that with people, but there's so much state park resources and ground that you can get on. And just as long as you know a little bit about it, use maps like OnX and stuff, and you can get to points and get on turkeys quick and do the run and gun game and have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So turkeys, that's your game?
Yeah, man. That's probably the most, I have the most fun turkey.
Well, if you guys haven't already put this together, Oliver Parker and Neil DePugh know each other somewhat. They're both locally Chillicothe boys.
Yes.
I actually owe Neil credit to connecting me with Oliver Parker because Neil tagged Oliver Parker in one of my posts 2 or 3 years ago looking for a videographer, and the guy had to like my dad jokes. I think that was another prerequisite. So I owe Neil that because Oliver,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude, he's a great friend now. Yeah. Oliver's a great, other than he's, just dropped the ball on my farm listing in Jackson, but hey, we're still boys. I got to bust his chops. But yeah, this is how, your network is your net worth. It's been great. Oliver's been a great friend of mine. So great dude to connect with. Last question. Being that you are the Bass Pro, I got to reset my brain here. You're not the Cabela's guru anymore. You're the Bass Pro guru. What is, and this has got to carry some weight here. What is one piece of gear that you swear by?
Man, that's definitely a tough one for sure.
And I didn't tell Neil any of these before the show, so put them on the spot.
So many. And
you can qualify it, or qualify it to what you're going to say is what you can't live without.
Yeah. Probably because actually I wrote a little piece because when we were store manager, we used to have to keep a little post in the front of the store that was, what was a gear, something you recommended. And I actually recommended our polar cap coolers because the thing about buying a cooler is if you buy the right cooler and you buy one good cooler, you're going to have it forever. So
you're good. We got little man. Come on in. It's fine. We're wrapping up.
Yeah, come on in, buddy.
Come on in.
Come on in. He said,
"Hey, buddy.
This is my little guy, my 4-year-old."
That is hi. I'm Tyler.
Say hi.
Oh, nice. We got the little slimes.
Yeah, our polar cap coolers. Yep. They are awesome, and they are a fraction of the price of the Yetis. And I will say that I've had my cooler now. It's once you buy one, you typically want to buy another. I've had mine now for 8 years, and I beat the living daylights out of it. I've used it for a stepping stool. Mm-hmm. I've used it for hauling wild game. I've used it for it's just a multitude of things. Just I mean, I literally pounded a stake in the ground with it. So, I mean,
so let me make sure that we're getting this right. Is this Cabela's brand Polar Tech cooler?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And we have those available. They've changed a little bit. They've actually improved the handles and the straps, makes it easier to pull up and hold and that kind of thing. But the unique part about them, one of the selling points is that it sits, it has like just like little heels to it. So like it sits about an inch off the ground between the heels. A Yeti doesn't do that. It sits flat. It allows air to move through the cooler and allows things to retain ice longer. And technically, I've went it up against the Yeti and my buddies. And I remember we were in Savannah, Georgia, and my cooler held ice like 3 days longer than his did with his Yeti. So
let's go, dude. Shout out to the Cabela's Polar Tech. And also, we're still not getting 20% off one of those, correct?
And, like I said, just going to come at the right time now. And we'll get Are you Cabela's club member with us, Tyler?
Right. See, he's out. Yeah. Hey, are all you listeners a Cabela's club member? I mean, I get hassled every time I go in there. I got to hold up like gang signs. Hey, I'm just getting some broadheads. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, you save some money.
Yeah, dude. Hey, and they're after them Sheets dogs. Those Sheets dogs is what started it all, baby. That's how you become general manager. Those Sheets dogs.
They'll drive you, man. They'll fuel you and drive you.
So listen, this has been awesome, Neil. I really appreciate you coming on. We're going to have to I tell every guest that I have on, I want to make sure that you are willing to come on and do almost live check-ins of how's your fall going and how's your seasons going? How's the farm improvements you're doing going? We can bring you back on for kind of the 2.0 sequel of, hey, let's say you've owned your farm a year now. What's some of the things you've done? What's some of the, the epiphanies you had? What are some of the new projects you've got? Because I know firsthand, it's always a moving target. Like it's always, that next thing. Man, I can't tell you enough about how much it means to hear your journey, because obviously I don't come from a retail space, but what I find so valuable in your story that is reciprocal across the board of anyone who's ever chased greatness is like you have been and stayed incredibly steadfast. And to the degree that I just feel like few would do. And that's why you're able to be in a position that few would be in. Yeah. So dude, like you got a lot to be proud of. That's awesome. That's an awesome story.
Appreciate it, man.
It's awesome.
It's definitely it's a lot of work, but it just proves the point of set your mind to something and, you're a human being, you can achieve it. It's the dreams can be reached for sure. But
final parting words from Neil. If anything comes to mind on building a legacy through land, what comes to mind as a takeaway someone could take from today?
Don't think that it can't be done. You just, use the resources, keep reaching out, keep finding, and think about those mentors in your life. You're going to be able to find somebody who's going to lead you in the right direction. But yeah, I think that, don't give up. There are ways.
And do you resonate that today is the second best time to buy land other than 20 years ago?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, we talk about it a lot that it's not getting easier. It's not going to get easier. Today's Bill Winke's always the famously quoted, the best time to buy land was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Yeah. And, you're seeing it. Neil jumped onto that equity train that we talk about, that fast moving, this large 1 million plus cart train of the land game as a moving, train. The prices keep going up. The land game keeps increasing. Whether Neil jumped onto the cart or not, the land game's increasing. What I get so excited about is when people finally jump on the train and they hitch their cart to the train by buying a piece of land. They've hitched themselves to that appreciation movement of that train that day. Yeah. And the longer you wait to jump on that train, you're missing out on all that appreciation. You really are. And you know what? I hate saying that because it's what drives me every day to work really hard, because I tell my wife all the time, I really think that tomorrow it's harder to buy dirt than it was today. So I owe it to myself to do whatever I can do to secure the things that I need to secure as fast as I can, as humanly possible. And, I hope that's life-giving to people listening, not like life-taking, that you just think it's impossible. It's not. You got to be willing to be disciplined. And, Neil was very disciplined in his career that afforded him the opportunity to strike when he could, but you've got to be disciplined and you've got to go take action. If you're just sitting around waiting on something to come to you, you're going to have a very unfulfilled outcome.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's all, my dude. I have enjoyed this. If you've stuck around and listened to the Neil DePugh story, we appreciate it. Go yell at him in Cabela's. Now Bass Pro, I'll have to reset my mind to that. Go yell at him at the store that he works at. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Legacy Through Land podcast, and we'll catch you next week.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode. If you're finding value in this content, we'd love to hear from you. It'd mean a lot if you could share with us how this podcast is helping you on your journey and let us know of any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Be sure to connect with us on all social platforms at Legacy Acres Land Co. and subscribe to stay updated on when new episodes drop. We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Legacy Through Land podcast, and we'll see you next week.